Okay. So initial few days I'll move little slow. Once we pick up, once we understand the concept, then we'll move fast. Okay, later on. Okay, initially I'll explain little slowly. Let us go with the very basics of audit first. Then we'll move on to the standard, because standard is the neck of this standard. If you want to open the keys of audit, the keys, right keys are your standards on auditing. Because the moment you cover standards, no, I will tell you how much things you're going to cover in the study material. Okay, so what is my scope or the syllabus? First of all, I have got 3 modules and 2 ICA pronouncements, correct? 3 modules. Yeah, only 3 modules. Only 3 modules. Nothing. I'll tell you the scope. No. Let us discuss, and that too, if you see the pages, no, number of one chapter is only 50 page, 40 page, 160, 120 page. Now 3 modules, I'll tell you, no, let us go through what is there, and let us understand now what I need to focus. Now I'm telling you, no, see, syllabus is vast. Huh? Let us, once we understand, once we touch that, then we understand. Okay, only 3 modules, only 3 small books, and 1 big ICA pronouncement is there. Okay, now in my chapter 1, they have told about auditing standards, statements and guidance. No, they have given a summary in 50 pages, every summary of your standards and some brief history and background of standards on auditing. When they are speaking about brief history, no, they didn't start with the earth and life and this thing. They started from 1982 when the audit practice committee was started. This is earth and life and Homo sapien is my edition. Followed, no? Now, once you prepare standards, you can skip this chapter. You need not read only, because they have given the summary of every single chapter. Followed, no? It is a summary of every single chapter. Next comes audit planning, strategy and execution. Again, if you see this individual content, it is nothing but essay 300, 600, 610, 20, 540, 220, 520. Now, if you start reading this, first of all, you will not understand this because they have given the summary. Summary is not going to help you to prepare for any questions. So, this is reading this itself is the waste. Now, coming to chapter 2, you will not understand the flow of the chapter 2. Why? Because it is coming from a mix of multiple standards, plus something board of studies also I have added. So, you will not understand the base of that. So, we are not going to touch upon chapter 2 initially, we will see it later. Then coming to chapter 3 is nothing but essay 315 and some additions of board of studies like documentation, framework of internal control, something extra they have put. Again 315, straight away you can't jump into 315 risk assessment. So, this also chapter you leave it aside. Now, you come one more aspect totally not related to the standards called audit in ERP environment. For this, I highly recommend please do advanced ITT classes. In advanced ITT, there is something called we discussed ERP environment, automation. At least you get some idea, fair idea. Or in EAS chapter, in ITSM, there was general IT controls, application controls, those things, something related like that. Now comes company audit and schedule 3. Company audit is nothing but what you have mastered in your intern. What is that? Appointment of auditor, remuneration of auditor, but don't expect any question on that because that age is done. Now you will be asked questions on schedule 3 format. You will be asked questions on Ind AS. You will be asked question on CARO. I said no, the question which opened a spark in me, such type of questions you are going to find. They say that okay, some capitalization, some foreign currency loan was taken and they capitalized the foreign currency loan. As an auditor, is it right? Now then you have to say as per Ind AS 21, Ind AS 21 do not permit the capitalization of foreign currency borrowing, foreign currency exchanges. So this treatment is wrong. You have to, then they will ask you what you are going to do. Then step number 1, I am going to inform to the management. If they are not going to agree, I am going to qualify the report. You have to tell in a very systematic manner what you are going to do as an auditor. Now, who has told you what you need to do? Standards on auditing. So there will be a blend of your Ind AS versus your standards on auditing. Again, none of the chapters we are going to touch. So first begin, if you have not opened the standards, then you will never understand this and you will keep it aside. You say that audit is difficult. Correct, no? You will keep it aside. And remember, today or tomorrow, you have no choice, no? Auditing has to be studied because it's part of your first group. Now I'll come to the module number 2, audit committee and corporate governance. Something you have got SEBI chapter in law, some connection is there. But if you see, there is more in audit rather than that chapter. Your audit committee, number of members for audit committee, meeting of the audit committee and all. You have got audit of consolidated financial statements, 110 flavor you are going to get, Ind AS 110. Investment entities, exemption for investment entities, how to do the consolidation. Audit of banks, purely watching and verification. Audit of insurance company, watching and verification. You had no one subject called watching and verification. You will get some flavor like this. Okay, there we have to follow strategies, because I am telling you, it becomes very difficult for you to study these chapters. Why? Because it's pure watching and verification. How do you verify the cash? How do you verify the expenses? So what strategy I am going to follow is, in this chapter, I am going to plot out every single question what may come for exam. I will deduct what has already come. Then we will follow what strategy we follow for FR. What is that? IMP, highly probable. At least we will focus on certain important questions. Because the syllabus, even though it is 60 pages question, you will find 100 questions there. How do you watch this fixed assets? How do you watch insurance premium? How do you watch liabilities, actuarial valuation? So we have to follow some strategies here. Okay, now you have got irritating and biggest chapter is this tax audit and GST audit. Anyhow, you have got some tax audit understanding and GST audit. We will try to manage that. We will do it. We will cover odd questions. And now we will come to module 3, which is very okay as compared to module 2, which is audit of public sector undertakings, liabilities of the auditor, internal audit, operational audit, due diligence, peer review, professional ethics. So this is important. So I said 3 chapters are important. Standards on ICA pronouncement, 600 pages are there. No. See, first of all, I don't dare to tell, don't read institute study material. Followed, no? So I always recommend you, and my preparation and study will be based on ICA study material. Okay? But I will dare and I will attempt to replace this ICA pronouncement. I will give you one book. This book is entirely based on the standards which I have developed it by considering which is the highly probable question which may come. If you see the ICA pronouncement, there are para after para. Do you know one thing, that if I have got a sub points, suppose I have got one point heading called audit procedure. Under audit procedure, I will write inspection inquiry. How do I write? I will write audit procedure one heading, say I say A, then I say 1, 2, 3 like this, correct? You know how they write in the auditing standard book? They say para number 19, audit procedures. Para number 20, inspection. Para 21, inquiry. Now, what is the difference? When they write audit, they write in bold, in a straight this thing. The subheadings are written in italics, in bold. You see, you open the standard, you compare my book. What I have done, I have given the points. I have not given any reference of any para. I scrapped all the paras. Ulta, I have from the examination point of view, I have given you the points, sub points. There is something called explanatory material. Those contents are going to come for examination. I have incorporated here only. I will explain you how to read. So the very first thing what we are going to target is on this. This 600 pages I have reduced to 300. This is just like a bear. Tomorrow in a court of law, if somebody will file a complaint against me that you have not done audit properly, then I will say let us see in the court. Obviously he has to see me in the court only. Now court will decide, they will tell me, okay, have you done the work? Yes, because my standards on auditing, when I give audit report, I say that my work has been done as per the standards on auditing. Then the court and the lawyers from next day onward, they start holding one book called standards on auditing, which is nothing but our ICA pronouncement. The lawyers are going to read it, the judge is going to understand, and finally they are going to prove whether my work is proper or not based on this book called ICA pronouncement. So if you are going to do audit in your day-to-day life, your audit should be entirely based on ICA pronouncement. If not, Then when it comes to audit report, you should not use the word called I have done audit as per standards or not. Simple. Followed, no? So our first target will be on the standards on auditing. I believe you must have left this in intermediate. And the weightage of this standards on auditing is around 30 marks. Final. And I don't know how much in MCQ. So this and Company Act should give you somewhere 16 marks. Okay, let me give the book to you. Yes, all other chapters I want you to refer study material, because I will see. Again, I told I am with the person with the reason. I want evidence because we are the auditor, and I have got an evidence that institute will give you the questions from the study material. I can pinpoint and show you from where, but I cannot show you in your somebody's textbook. So if you don't have the practice of reading study material, please start studying the study material. And let us follow some strategies, which I need to, because I have got some understanding that if they have asked once, no, they will not ask again. And if they have asked in MTP or RTP, that also they are not going to ask again. They will ask you from somewhere in the picture, somewhere highlighted, some inconsistencies. First thing they are going to ask. Follow, no? So you are going to read the book. For ICA pronouncement, you are going to replace. See, again, replace means I cannot dare to tell you, please replace it. There can be something which may come, which is not there in my material. But at least first you master this, then you touch ICA pronouncement if you have got a time. After you study my science of audit, your ICA pronouncement will look like this for you. You understand it. But every single word, whatever I have given in my material, no, it is weighed and given from the examination point. So you can't ignore any of that, at least. There, but again, how much assurance I can give you? Somewhere 85 to 95%, 90%. Is it reasonably high enough? Absolute I cannot give. Even an auditor also cannot give absolute assurance. But I can give a highly reasonable assurance that if you study this book, any standard question, you will be able to tackle it. But around somewhere 80 to 90%. I can say 80 to 90. Enough, right? This much level is sufficient, no? At least 600 pages you can avoid. You can restrict to 300 pages. Yes. So, list of standards. Okay, so we have got some around 36 standards. Okay, why I call it science? Because it's purely principles. Purely principles. So from once I start explaining with the standard, no, you will start observing standards everywhere. It's there in the nature. It's very simple. Everywhere we follow. Risk assessment, everywhere we apply that concept. Now, the standards are classified into 5 groups. First of all, 200 series. They talk only general principles and responsibilities of the auditor. They will not tell you how to do audit. They will tell you if in case of fraud, what is your responsibility? In case of law, what is your responsibility? In case of joint audit, what is your responsibility? So first set of standard, all 200 series, talks only the responsibilities of the auditor. Followed, no? Then I'll go to the group B, 300 series and 400 series. This will tell how to do the audit. Just like FR, any point of time I'll ask you, know, what is the standard? You should be able to tell me what is the standard, what is the objective of the standard, what are the requirements of the standard, what are the reporting requirements, procedures. Okay, now 300 series is going to talk about how to do audit. Here I am going to ask you what you did. Why did you ask external confirmation? Now comes 500 series. These are all the evidence, audit evidence related. Okay, under different circumstances, what type of evidence I need to gather? If there is a problem with the going concern, what type of evidence I need? If there is an analytical procedure, what type of evidence? How should I do the sampling? Sampling with what type of evidence I need to follow? And very important from the examination point of view, 500 series. All evidence. Now comes the 600 series, which talks about the auditor's responsibilities while using the work of others. That means other people are going to come. Who are those? Other auditors, experts, internal auditors. Only 3 people. And the last, branch audit means other auditors, comes under 600. And the last one, group E, talks about the reporting responsibilities, all the reports. And your boss is excellent in this. Everybody has to be excellent reporting, because our final output is this, no? Opinion we are expressing in the form of a report. So there are 700, 701, 705, these are all the different reporting responsibilities. See, now what happens? No, there is a flow. You need to understand that flow rather than just seeing one number of a standard. Did you know this way they have grouped that one thing they speak only about the principles, set of standards talk about the audit, set of standards talk about the evidence, set of standards talk about the work of others, and finally the reporting. At least you got one group, one map you got in your mind. At least if I ask you what is your reporting responsibility related to law, your mind will go to the group A. Instantly it should go and get connected there. Fine. What do you mean by standard? What do you mean by standard? Level. What do you understand? Okay, why do I need standard? Compare. Improve. Okay, so now I call it with one word called a benchmark or a criteria or a comparison. See, standard is needed in every single profession. See, every single profession is relied on trust. Agree with me? Every single profession, everything, even driving is a profession. Every profession carries a risk. And every single profession has to deliver some output to the needed people. You take example of cooking, catering. That itself is a profession. How much risk is involved there? Correct? And there also needed one standard is needed. It can be a generally accepted standard. Like if you go and order gobi manchuri, you expect something in your mind. Will you tell the specification? No, you say gobi manchuri. That person has understood gobi manchuri. You go to China and say, I want gobi manchuri. Yes, they will also give you gobi manchuri with chicken pieces added to it. Because as per their standard, that is gobi manchuri. Now, what happens in this locality? There is something called a generally accepted practices, which I can compare with my expectations. But the moment I become expand, say tomorrow I want to order gobi manchuri with somebody in North India, I will fall into a problem, because what is his expectation? What is his level? I don't know. So now I need a standard for a comparison, whether his work is as per meeting as per my expectations. See, this standard is a technical subject matter. It's purely technical. We have to understand each words and understand, okay, what should be my level of performance? See, we are the professionals. Huh? It took time for me to realize what do you mean by a profession? What do you mean by a professional? Professional is someone who gives a professional solution to the people outside there. You are going to become professionals. Huh? Even though that person may be driving a vehicle, he is a professional driver, which we may not be able to do it. If we try to venture there, we might end up messing up. Hair cutting, it might sound simple. Have you ever tried? We'll mess it up. Mess it up. Mess it up. It might sound simple, but those are the professionals. Somebody had to pay 1.5 crore rupees damage for cutting hair of one person. One model, in newspaper it came, no? One model went to one hotel and she went for some salon and somebody cut her hair. She is the model, she lost her job. She filed a case and got 1.5 crore rupees. Risk is there in every profession. Risk is there in audit profession also. Tomorrow, if there are no standards, people will lose the trust. That profession will go for a toss. Correct, no? If you mess up, suppose we have got a marriage function, which is very high, this thing, no, for us, marriage function. Imagine on that day, caterer has messed up with the food. Gone. Function is gone. If that experience, everybody is experiencing, first of all, that caterer will go for a toss. He will lose the business. At the same time, if every caterer is going to do like that, no, society will lose the trust on somebody called a caterers. There cannot be any profession called a caterers. How do we manage then? Suppose if I have got a function, I will call my relatives. and I will see to it that I will myself will do the cooking, which we were doing at once upon a time. Today we are trusting the caterers. Today we are trusting the saloons. We are trusting the drivers, because each people have become professionals. Like that, our profession depends on trust. Somebody trusts us in our opinion. We are also professionals, and when somebody trusts on our opinion, that opinion should be professional opinion. We need a lot of stuff inside to give that opinion. Okay, what does standards on auditing say? Standards on auditing is a benchmark for the audit procedures and the reporting. See, that means every single standard what we are going to learn. Two things you have to see. What procedures my auditing standard says, and what is my reporting responsibility. Like suppose if I come on standards on cooking, can you imagine one something called a standards on cooking? What it might contain? There would have been lot of procedures written, no? And those are called procedures, because what do you mean by procedure? Okay, we'll come to that procedure part. See, I would have written something like, okay, what safety measures you have to keep in mind? Very important, no? Cooking. See, tomorrow I can say this is my safety measure. No, it may not be sufficient. I need to ensure there are proper safety measures. You are going to wash the vegetables. Okay, you are ensuring that nobody is putting some poison into my food. And what do you mean by specification of the food? Dal means it must be boiled so much. You have to use only so much grade of dal. You should not have used adulterated milk. This is called the standards on cooking. Do we have something like that today? No. But our profession has got one standard. Do you have got a standards for hair cutting or driving? Driving, okay, but there is nothing. Understood. Driving, each person might teach in a different way. But when it comes to standards on auditing, no, every single student is going to learn auditing in a very similar way. Yes. Is it permitted? Tomorrow, again, see, again my standard means it's not like cooking, just like do this way. I might encounter a situation where totally, I might land up totally different. That situation may not be told by the standards how to address it. Then certain basic principles we need to follow. Again, I told why I call it science, no? Because standard will not tell you what to do. They will tell you, give a overall guidance. It will talk about the principles. That's why I said, no, somewhere I said 3 words I started to love: skepticism, professional judgment, risk. Entirely based on my judgment. Lot of judgment you have to apply, because it is not so easy to develop a standard. No, at least we should be happy that there is something called a standard. Once upon a time there was no standard. Imagine, then I was doing just like the way I was doing. No, that's what. Now this you have to tell after we go through the standard. Then you have to ask me these questions. Once let us start preparing, I want you to come up with the cases and the scenarios. So tell me how I should do audit this type of situation. Okay, I will encounter a situation like this. How should I do it? Now for that I will tell that for every single question of you will find answer in your standards on audit. You followed my point, no? I understand now, because you don't know audit, right? We have not gone through into it. Same question, I want you come up with some specific cases, like and that's exactly what comes in your examination also. They say that, okay, there was an auditor, he went there, the management told like this, they said you cannot do the external confirmation, one of the external confirmation gave this situation. What are you going to do? Is it not the question you are going to ask me, sir, how should I do? Then I say refer standards. Standard has every answer for that. And we are going to learn standards in a totally different way. We are going to the pure principles. Principles means we are going to the base. We are going to understand what the nature of the standard. Then you realize, then you will not ask me this question. You understand it. Okay, we'll proceed further. Okay, so but particularly primarily this standards on auditing talks about 2 things. So every single standards what we are going to talk, we have to look what is my procedure, what is my reporting responsibility. Now, what do you mean by procedure? What do you mean by procedure? What do you understand by steps? Which steps? Okay. Is it permitted for an auditor? Lie detector, phone tapping, slapping? All this will give evidence, right? See, if you are looking at evidence, all these things will give evidence. Is this permitted? Have you ever done in your audit like this? Have you took one's phone and listen to CFO and CEO conversation, what they are telling, which accounting entry should be passed? Have you ever heard? No. Why? Huh? Who told? Who told? Why? You used one word called official. See, procedure, dictionary meaning of procedure means an established or an official way of doing something. You have to do something officially, professionally. Now, standard tells you what you can do, what you cannot do. Tomorrow, my job is very simple. I have to follow the standard and do certain job. If somebody blames me, I will say, let us see in the court of law. I will take the standard there and keep in front of, bang in front of the judge and see, look, such and such para says so and so, I have done as per that, that's it. Now something happens, my standard is and I have told very clearly in my report also, I have done audit as per this standard. You understand, very nice. We have protected ourselves by telling one standard. If you don't follow standard and you give your report, I have done standard, yes, professional misconduct. This court will give you punishment. So you are safe in this profession if you have followed standard and quoted standard. So that becomes very necessary for me to understand what my standard says. You are getting my point? And don't think that standard is so something big. We should be happy, but I don't know whether doctors have got any standard. Yeah, they obviously they must be having, no. It is also a matter of trust, because we keep our body in front of the doctors. Do anything, whatever you want. Imagine, right? If doctor, we don't trust doctor, can you go and kid in front of the kid? Can you go and lie like this, giving to knife? Or anybody stranger? No, doctor is a pure stranger for us, and we totally trust. And imagine if they don't follow the proper procedure. Correct? No? Sequence of, they also follow one sequence of activities. What is that sequence? First, check the blood sugar, blood pressure, give anesthesia, cut, and then stitch. Imagine they forgot to give the anesthesia, straight away cut. What would have happened our situation? Next, again, in a court of law, we will meet in court of law. We may not be met, or maybe our successors may have to meet. But what happened? They will come and tell, oh, we tried our best. Who is there to tell what happened inside? The procedures. See, what do you mean by procedure? First of all, procedure is a sequence of activity. Sorry, procedure is something official way of doing. And these are all official way of doing. Very official. Correct? Established by their profession as their standard, which every doctor follows. You go to any country, every doctor follows the same procedure. Now, in this procedure also, there are sequence of activities. Remember, that's what I'm going to tell you. Every single auditing standard, I'm going to tell you a sequence of activities in which you have to do the audit. Okay. Similarly, there are sequence of audit in the standards also, which they have provided, which I have to just tell you. Now, what is the overall framework of any standard? You start with introduction. Questions can come from introduction for your exam. So don't underestimate introduction para. Objectives. Questions will not come from objective, but objective is like life of the standard. Every single standard I will tell you, please understand the objective. Why? Because objectives are going to guide me the requirements, my procedures. Then I have got definitions. Okay, no questions have come on the definitions. You can straight away leave, but definitions will understand some of the definitions. Then there is something called requirements and application and other explanatory material. Every single standard will go in this particular format. Now, there are objectives. Say some standard may have one objective, somebody have 4 objectives, somebody might have 2 objectives. Now, these objectives are met by requirements, say 1, 2, 3, 1, 4, something like this. And there is an interconnection between objective and a requirement. Requirement is nothing but a procedure. Objective is what is that you want to do? What is that you want to do? And procedure is how you are going to achieve that objective. Objective is expectation. Why we are doing that? First of all, I will say, what is your objective of coming and sitting here? What is your objective of coming and sitting here? You be very clear of your objective. Your objective is to clear the exam. Now I'll ask you how. That's your objective, to clear. How? Steps. I have to prepare this, I have to prepare this, I have to practice this, I have to understand this, I have to practice this. And there is an interconnection between an objective and a procedure. Your objective is to clear examination and you have gone for this dance, karaoke song practice and all. Understood? Is there any interconnection? Can your objective be anytime be met? You have become expert singer in karaoke, but will it help you to achieve the objective of clearing CA? Never. So what you do, it's called a requirement, should be interconnected with the objectives, what you want to achieve. Now every single standard has got this interconnection, which is not expressly told. Again, why? Why they made it so difficult? I was thinking, why they made this pronouncement so difficult? You compare my book with the pronouncement, you will find my book very simple. Contents are same, language is almost same. Why they made it difficult? Why complexity code? That should not understand, no? It should be only for the auditors. Otherwise, CS also will tomorrow start doing auditing. ICW also will start doing auditing. Why I should allow? First of all, ourselves there is a stiff competition within ourselves only, among members only. And if the competition comes from CS, from MBA, from IIM and all, my life becomes problematic. So I want to avoid all those people. So I made very technical, but very simple at the core. So your objective, if you have to perform procedure 2, remember it. First you should have done. You can't jump into 2 unless you have done the first. Same like a doctor cannot cut your stomach without giving anesthesia. There is a sequence, right? And every single standard I am going to show it to you. You are going to realize it. Yeah, correct. There is a sequence. I can't do the second one without doing the first one. Or first one should have been not applicable because this objective is not there. Okay, so there is a sequence in the audit procedure also, like this, one after another, one after another. Okay, so there can be objective 1 will be met with 1, objective 2 will be met with the 2 procedures. That you have to understand. Follow, no? And then this is one part of understanding. Then there is another part called exam preparation. Let us look into the examination question, and then we have try to apply this what we have learned in the standard with the examination question. Clear, no? Okay. Now, okay, today we'll just do some basic part. Maybe we can move the standards in the next class only. Okay, certain basic things we'll learn. What is audit opinion with regard to audit opinion? What is assurance? Who gives assurance? Who has to get the assurance? Why it is needed? What is reasonable assurance, absolute and opinion expressed on what? Which we have learned already, correct? Okay, what is assurance? What do you understand by assurance? Assurance, no? You have come across this word, no? What do you mean by that? What do you assure from it? Guarantee. Then? Assurance. Assurance can be need not be, no? Your doctor also gives you an assurance. Will it is your financial statement is true and fair? What assurance he will give? Everything will be all right. And that assurance given by a professional only will soothe us. Unprofessional will say, what do you understand? How can you tell? That's why we are professionals. We are going to become professionals. First, you take that in your mind. By learning these languages, you are going to become a professional, and others can't understand what you know. Followed? Okay, tell me. What is assurance? Okay, if we go back to the dictionary meaning, assurance is nothing but a positive declaration or a promise which gives confidence to someone. It is a positive statement or a declaration which gives some confidence. You feel happy. You feel assured. Followed, no? Now, who has to, okay, like this I'll give you. Wife prepares some dish. she gives somebody else to test, her husband. Why? Okay, maybe she is the husband, whatever she likes or dislikes, this different story, but say fantastic, no? Correct? Opinion should be biased, no? Or unbiased? Maybe it might be biased, whatever. Huh? Okay, now why she can't test herself? Why she can't test herself? Why we want that assurance? Safety, no. Okay, maybe this is an expression of opinion. Now, who gives the assurance? Maybe she is having cold. She is having some nose, some problem, like cold is there. She thinks that, okay, third party is an unbiased person, which she believes. And she expects an expression of the opinion. Followed, no? Now, my fundamental question, who gives assurance? To whom? No, in this question. Third person gives. Who says nice? Nice, telling nice is an expression of opinion. It's not an assurance. Wife is not giving an assurance because she wants the opinion. See, understand here, I'm telling now, I'm going to the basics, I'm going to the root. Understand this, then I'll tell you to the audit, which is not different from audit. Wife wants an opinion. Correct, no? You taste and tell me. Now, husband asks, why don't you taste yourself? She has got her limitations. That's why she is trying to tell you. Otherwise, if she didn't have any limitation, she could have tasted herself and told, right or not proper. Who gives assurance? Who wants assurance? First of all, assurance, who wants assurance? Wife wants assurance. Correct? Who gives assurance? How he gets assurance? So ultimately you see that in this word, evidence gives assurance. Without testing, can he say, superb, I do that sometime. Morning, my wife says, please see this salt. What happened? Morning, if you taste, that mouth taste is going to go. By looking at it, superb. By looking at it only, I can say that this is fantastic. Will she get any assurance if I make such statement? I have expressed my opinion. Super, you do all time very good only. She is telling me to taste it. See, understand here, my expression of the opinion will not give any assurance to her. Why? Because I have never tested it. And without testing, how can I give assurance? Now, when it comes to financial statement, there are investors who want that assurance. And they have got their own limitation. They cannot go and get that assurance. Who gives the assurance? Evidence gives the assurance. Remember, without testing the evidence, I can't express my opinion. That means my evidence gives the assurance. Who has to get the assurance? The auditor has to get the assurance because he wants to give this assurance to the intended user. Are you getting this point? He is expressing the opinion and there should be a basis for expressing that opinion. And that basis is nothing but the conclusion drawn on the evidence. Auditor to give assurance to the third party. See, understand here. See, this is the language which you find in audit. First of all, there is an evidence which is very independent. Correct? Whether I taste or somebody else is going to taste. Salty is salty, without salt is without salt. When I taste it, based on my judgment and my perception, again, person to person auditor may be different. But if I understand what should be the level of salt, okay, based on my judgment, I draw some conclusion from the evidence. Correct? When I taste it, I will draw a conclusion from the evidence. And based on that conclusion, I will form an opinion. These things will happen within a fractions of a second in our mind. And when we never realize all these things. We see, very good. But to tell that there was a conclusion, there was an evidence obtained, conclusion drawn, a basis, opinion was formed, and that opinion was expressed. Evidence is the one who gives to the auditor. In turn, auditor will pass on that assurance to the intended user. Now, why intended user cannot get that assurance? Because the management and ownership is separated in a company form of organization. What evidence am I having access? Investors do not have any access to that. My access to evidence is unrestricted. Agreed? I can go and access the books of accounts. I can get the representation from the management. I can talk to the bankers. Can an investor do it? No. He has got a limitation. Now, how he is sure that the what management has cooked is proper or not? He needs a professional, a third independent person who tastes that evidence, draws a conclusion from there, analyzes and forms an opinion, and communicate that opinion in the form of a report to the intended user. Because in our CA final, whatever we are going to learn, these languages we are going to learn. There should be a basis for the opinion form. Where? How to form the basis? Evidence. How to collect the evidence? Procedures. Which procedures? Suggested by the standard. See, there is a total interconnection. Are you getting my point? You are clear now, this example? Okay, so one thing you are sure. Okay, why assurance is needed? For a basis for an opinion. Now, assurance is given by the auditor. Just because I have formed an opinion, how somebody will come to know what is my opinion? That is called expression of the opinion. How do I express? I may verbally tell, this is true and fair. But my standards do not permit me verbal expression of opinion. It says your expression of opinion should be always in the form of an audit report. Opinion in the form of an audit report in a written form. Otherwise, expression of opinion I can always say verbally. No, over the phone also I can say it is true and fair. But standards will never permit me. It says in the form of audit report you have to express. And to express that opinion, first of all, you need to have a basis for opinion. And the basis you need to derive from conclusion. And conclusion you can draw only from the evidence. And evidence you can get through an established audit procedure. You can't take that evidence by slapping the accountant. You have to follow either external confirmation, coaching, verification, those things. Yes. First of all, ultimately, who needs assurance? Intended user. Who gives evidence? Evidence. Auditor. Correct. Again, to give auditor, who gives assurance to the auditor himself? How auditor comes to know everything is true and fair? Basically, when we say in a layman language, it says that auditor gives to this. But first of all, to auditor to give, auditor should have a basis, no? It's like me looking at the dish and telling, everything is correct. What? I have not got any evidence only. Like that, when an auditor gives one report, no, without doing any audit procedure, without collecting any evidence, it sounds like that. You don't taste and say everything is perfect. Your salt is super. I can taste, I can smell it and say salt is correct. From where? No. In language, you are going to find the language like that. You are going to find the language like this. So you understand the language. How to write in examination, I will tell you. We will practice that way. But we have to go to the depth and we'll understand the language. Clear? We'll move further. You never thought, no? Assurance and connection can be something like this. Okay. Now, what do you mean by reasonable assurance? Assurance we understood. Reasonable assurance means what? Reasonable means what? Reasonable. What do you mean by reasonable? Acceptable. Reasonable. See, you call some plumber for some fixing some pipe. He has fixed the pipe and say, pay me 2 lakh rupees. You feel like slapping, no? You tell me some reasonable money, no? Reasonable is what? Reasonable is fair, justified, acceptable, sensible, appropriate. You go to buy a fish. He says 20 lakh rupees for one, what is that, kingfish. You say you only eat it. Unreasonable. But that fish is with some diamond and all, threaded with the diamond. It is reasonable. Correct, no? See, in audit we are using this language called reasonable. There is no definition for reasonable. Reasonable is something you have to feel, this is reasonable. Now, okay, there is one, you have got one dress, some marriage is there. You go to one darji, tailor. After giving the dress, what you will ask him? One basic question you will ask, no? You churidar or something you will give given for dress for ladies. The very first question, when? He will say, sir, I need 2 days. Is it okay? But does he need 2 days? Actually, he needs only 2 hours, no? To stitch that, does he really need 2 days? No. Did you ever ask him, sir, why 2 days? No, not required, because it sounds reasonable. He says 2 weeks. Reasonable? Reasonable. 2 weeks is reasonable. Christmas time, Diwali time, reasonable. See, reasonableness changes depending upon the circumstance. There is nothing, no definition for reasonableness. Remember, in audit also, when I say I'm giving a reasonable assurance, there is nothing called a fixed definition. This is reasonable. It may be 2 days may be reasonable, 2 hours may be reasonable. If he says 2 years I need. If he says I need 20 years to stitch this shirt or churidar, is it reasonable? Irrespective of whatever story he is going to tell me. No, my life is like this, I have got so many things, this. He will tell a lot of stories to explain that he actually needs 2 years or 20 years to stitch one shirt. Any explanation, will you listen? Why? Because you concluded it is unreasonable. Have you applied the concept of reasonableness? When the client explains you something, does it sound reasonable? Or does it sound unreasonable? Some story they are telling for your inquiry. They are giving a response, some story. Does it sound reasonable like this with explanation or totally unreasonable? No, this is unreasonable. Okay, so that reasonableness we find everywhere in our day-to-day life. Everywhere. Correct, no? Plumber, you get into the bus. Bus person will charge a ticket of 20 rupees. Reasonable. He is charging 2000 rupees from here to 20-kilometer journey. Next time he will not catch the bus only. Okay, first day you will argue with him, lot of stuff will happen. But the moment you understand somebody is unreasonable, that person lost the market. Now, I look at the balance sheet. Does it sound reasonable balance sheet? You should develop that skill. Huh? Now, if I ask you, how do you certify the bank balance? What evidence you need? Bank statement. Does it look like a reasonable balance sheet? Skepticism always should be there on top of it. Does it sound like a reasonable balance sheet? Why? What is the problem? Huh? What is the problem here in this balance sheet? No. 10 rupees short-term loan. See, first of all, you will ask one basic question, no? See, first of all, you are having already cash balance of 200 crore in your SB account. Ulta, why did you take a loan of 10 crore? Then you start suspecting this. Is it really there? Or it is a fake balance? There was no need for you to take. Now, client will explain you something, some story. Does it sound reasonable? So, the moment you see this, it becomes unreasonable to you. Irrespective of the client explains something, you will go to the depth of it because you are always skeptic and try to find out what exactly has happened there. Now what you say? See, if my gross profit, okay, I'll tell you, that's why you have to raise the questions, it's left to you. If my gross profit percentage of the client is 40%, fine, maybe reasonable. But my industry is 10%, unreasonable. In the first case, 2016-17, last year, I took only bank statement to certify 200 crore because there was nothing like this. And I certified my financial statement. But the moment I see loan on 10 on the liability side, 200 on the liability side, I will look bank statement plus other evidence because I don't trust this 200 now. Because 200 looks unreasonable to me. Followed, no? So again, judgment. Now I'll go to the one nice question. Who is this person? Identify the person in the photograph. Your option, wait, the computer G, please option दिखाइए इनको. Option A, Rampa. Option B, Mullah Khan. Option C, Bin Laden. And option 4, George W. Bush. Who is? But okay, by looking at it, I need not give the option. One option came to your mind straight away, which I am going to lock on your behalf. Even though you are telling me different names, I know what is there in your mind, and I am going to lock Bin Laden. Correct? And the answer is right. Okay, how much money you want? 50 lakh rupees you want. Now I'll ask you one basic question. 50 lakhs, straight 50 lakhs. Now I'll ask you one basic question. How did you know that he is Bin Laden? Whose identity? See, it might have so much, it might have possible that actual Bin Laden is somebody else. Every time, whenever interview has to be given, no, this person has been sent. He is actually Rampa in that country. Yeah, Tere Bin Laden. Super movie. Possible, no? Somebody is looking very similar to Laden was always sent in front of the camera. And every word is believing that this guy is Laden, but actually is not Laden. Now, how did you say that you will tell your child next generation also this guy is Laden every time? You always strongly believe that he is Laden. Why? Did you have got an evidence? Because your basis of the opinion is based on some evidence. If you have never read the newspaper, if you have never seen, you are seeing for the very first time this photo. You don't know who is he. Why? Because you never had any evidence with you. What is your evidence? Your evidence is the newspaper interview, newspaper photo. Now, is it an absolute assurance? It was never an absolute assurance. No? Can you absolutely tell this guy is Bin Laden? In person also you cannot say. Because your every single evidence is persuasive, not conclusive. We use that word in language. Evidence is persuasive. Even though you might have seen, whom you have seen, Tere Bin Laden, that guy was not perfectly like Bin Laden in that movie. I don't know from where they caught him. Very nice. That means almost he was matching like Bin Laden only. Okay, now if you want absolute assurance, what do you need to do? You have to go to, first of all, you have to catch one flight to Afghanistan. Go there, go to the hospital, get the DNA reports, get his DNA samples, go to the hospital records, do the school records, go and do the interview of. Then you will say, sir, namge ishtella kashta beda. I don't want this much. Who wants this absolute assurance? Who wants this absolute assurance? USA wants, because they want to kill him. It should not happen that they go and kill some wrong person. No, because they are planning to kill somebody, they need an absolute assurance whom they are going to kill. So they need this, not me. Like this, when it comes to audit, I don't need absolute assurance. I need a reasonable assurance. That's it. So if I want an absolute assurance, it's called investigation. Another chapter in CFI. If I want to do, this is an investigation to find the truth. In that case, I will never use the word called fair. I'll say correct, because I've gone to the depth and I've found out the truth. And I'm expected to give absolute assurance there by taking multiple evidences. You getting? Okay. So now, when you ask when, investigation is needed only when you become suspicious. Skepticism. That's why in the first year, when my bank balance was 200 crore, you just took the bank statement because it was reasonable. The moment you say unreasonable, no, you look the bank statement plus some other evidence. Otherwise, you are in a professional misconduct. You are not fit to be an auditor. Investigation, you need an absolute assurance. Then, what type of assurance we need for audit? See, when you asked him when, if you are a CA, you would say give in writing. No, if you say 2 days, you say give me a receipt. Now, receipt in the receipt, if he writes the date, is that gives you more assurance rather than he verbally telling 2 days? Because tomorrow he can put him in court of law telling, look, I wanted that shoot on so and so date. He promised me he's going to give me that, and I missed my interview, and he has to compensate me. If I take verbally assurance from him 2 days, tomorrow it might so happen that he will say, I don't know. it becomes very difficult for me to prove in a court of law. So this level of assurance is the high level of reasonable assurance. When I took in writing, it was high level of reasonable assurance. Okay, I'll just complete this quickly. Who is this? Police sketcher. Reasonable or low level or high level? Very low level, correct? What level of assurance? This one? Reasonable. So now when I say somebody draws like this, I call it a low level assurance. Very low level. Based on this, you can't go and kill somebody, no? He's telling he's Bin Laden. This is reasonable assurance. But this news has come in some Washington DC, not your Karawali or local newspaper. So you have got a high level of assurance. See, in audit, even though we give reasonable assurance, that reasonable assurance is the high level of assurance. With the written documentation, with the reliable evidence, reliable source. Equal, but we need to have a high level of assurance. Huh? High level of, because if it was simple reasonable, every ordinary layman would have given this reasonable assurance. Even a BCom graduate could have been given a reasonable assurance. Now, what is the difference between me and a BCom graduate? Because I am in a position to give high level of reasonable assurance. No, I am just giving one example. We will discuss that when it comes to evidence part. We will. Maybe no inquiry also will give you high level. Okay, I will tell you. Okay, now your doubt is how it can be a high level. No, it will go with the substance. No, I will tell you. Let me in the next slide. Okay, with this we will finish. Huh? With the next slide. Absolute assurance, how do you get? With all these DNA tests, school TC, hospital records, etc. Okay, now in the stock audit you have got. Okay, what did you do? You asked, is there stock available? The management said yes, every stock is available, and you gave an audit report. Have you seen such audit reports? Anybody gives somewhere? Untalla, ella stock sari untalla, ella sari untu sir. Chalo, audit report is given. Very low level of assurance. Why? Because none of the evidence is pursued. What is the evidence? Only verbal communication. No, you verified, you went there, physically verified, you have got the copies of the invoices, you documented it. It is a reasonable assurance that that inventory is there. I don't know, this inventory may be belonging to somebody else. Fine, I don't suspect, I am not a bloodhound, I am a watchdog. What I want is a high level of assurance, and this gives me high level of assurance. It is better than just asking over phone, ella inventory untalla. Reasonable means high level. It's not just reasonable means normal reasonable, which any ordinary guy can go and get that. We are specialized professionals. So what assurance I give, it should be reasonable, but at a high level reasonable. Highly reasonable. Now what is not, it is never absolute. Understand? If I want to give absolute assurance, no, then I have to do external confirmation, I have to put my surprise visit, I have to put my article student as a spy there, I have to tell them, okay, just wait there outside. If any truck moves, no, you take your bike and follow that. Has your boss anytime told you like that? Why? Because he doesn't want that. He doesn't want absolute assurance. Fraud might be there, but fine. What is the big deal for me? I have told very clearly, fraud is not my responsibility. Prevention of fraud is not never my responsibility. SA 240 I have told very clearly. That was once upon a time. No, I told you our objectives got changed. Management responsible, and then how I am responsible? That am I not responsible at all? Yes, I am also responsible. What? We'll learn. That is different story. It has nothing to do with audit. If at all I get some suspicion, no, like if I believe that this stock belongs to somebody else, then what I will do? No, I will do investigation. I will put my spy there, article student there. If I suspicious, I have to go to the depth. This is what my standard says. Okay, fine. If you cannot afford to do that, you cannot go to the depth. If you have not got the information, you leave it. But before you give the qualification, you should have a basis for a qualification. No, you simply can't say that. Fine, it's called, again, you can give a qualification like that if management is not giving you information. Yeah, understood your point. But to some extent, I can go to the depth. No, I can try to find out what has happened. If it is really material, if it is a big amount. See, first of all, standard says if it's something material and big amount, If you can't express opinion, you have to give a disclaimer of opinion. Disclaimer of opinion. Standard says before you give disclaimer, no, please resign from the audit. Withdraw from audit. Disclaimer of opinion is last. If you can't withdraw, then you have to give disclaimer. That's what you are. If you have got a legal limitations, you cannot withdraw. That's why we'll understand one by one. We'll understand. We'll take some time to understand standard, but it's very interesting. Because now you will realize now what we have to do in our audit. Resign. I'm not going to do any more audit of that entity. Mad or what? After so much of struggle, so much of preparation, I have become CA. Okay. So last one, what type of assurance you said? Low, no? So now it is actually out of syllabus, but I want to tell you about one lady called Lois Gibson. See, the talent lies how much? See, if I show you one photo and I draw a picture of this person, you have seen so many talents who will watch one photo and draw one picture just like that ditto copy. You know, she solved 100 crimes. Sorry, 1,000 crimes she has solved, and her name is in Guinness Book of Records. Can you see these pictures? Now, you know, all these pictures were drawn just by asking the person how that person must look like. Can you imagine a talent? See, now if I show you a picture and I say draw a picture like her, there are a lot of talents outside who can look at this and draw a picture. Correct? Have you seen a single talent where I will just ask you how that person looked like, how his hair was, how his eyes were, and I will just ask you and I draw a picture and that matches to the real image of the person? And that, see, person should tell properly, no, I will tell you. Somebody asked how you are able to do. She is asking only one thing. What was the expression on the face of the person? Was he smiling? Was he crooked? Because if she catches it, see, somebody, she has understood it's a professional, she is a professional. She understood the catch, how to pick that. She was asking what expression that person is to give. With the expression, she is to draw a picture. See, she got a Guinness Award. Now, if this lady gives one police sketch of Bin Laden, is it not giving me high level of reasonable assurance? That's what. So I cannot judge in my audit that this is low, that is high, nothing. Depending upon circumstance, something which was low might be high level assurance. Given by a professional, expert. I need to evaluate. Followed, no? See, that's what. These are all the talent. Okay, so this is not just ever, if the police sketch was drawn by Gibson, then high level of professional assurance. Okay, some USA, I believe. And see, this is the evidence, no? Can you imagine such a talent? Can you imagine that with the expression you capture somebody's face and matches? That's my talent. That's my talent. Okay, so we'll continue tomorrow.